European perspective is that they see themselves as more civilized, more cultured, superior to Americans, but yet at the same time, they're benefiting from the leeching off America's military. They're benefiting from the security that America provides without contributing as much to the global security that America is providing around Europe. So given that they're getting closer to China, it does make sense for the Americans to focus more on what's there in their best interest, not to completely abandon the Europeans. I mean, Europeans could focus, like, encourage the Europeans to spend more on their military, and if they want advanced American military weaponry, they could come buy it, right? But I think this is actually what Trump is doing to Europe is actually in the benefit of Europe as well, because actually you could see that their spending on their military has been increasing ever since that Trump and JD Vance and Pete Hegseth have signaled to Europeans that they need to actually contribute a lot more to their military. So this is good for Europe to actually basically Europe needs to again, this is going to be very difficult because a lot of the increased military spending that Europe needs to do requires them to spend less on their welfare, but they have made their citizens addicted to welfare. It's really hard. Like their citizens are not going to tolerate. This is the problem with being a welfare state. Once you realize that this model doesn't work, you can't get off of it because your citizens have become addicted to it. So now, even if you want to spend a lot more on your military, then you really can't as much as you should be because your citizens will not tolerate it. I mean, I do agree. Like, by the way, this doesn't, I don't want to generalize all European countries because, like, Poland, for example, very proud of Poland, doing a really good job. And I'm pretty sure there are some exceptions. Germany is become waking up. France is horrible. But yes, Ger- but again, so what was your second question, Shana?
Oh, I just really, really quick because I know we gotta get on it. Fuentes is Democrat posting, and so,
Oh, yeah.
the political alliance between the white nationalists is the Islamic commies. Like, open no, like,
Yeah,
more
so
open.
yeah, I can see I can see that happen. Here's an interesting thing. When I used to listen to Nick Fuentes more, he wanted this union to happen so much more earlier, but he said that his expectation was more people on the left to stop with the immigration. Okay, but so here's the thing. This is why Jew hatred is such a unifying factor. Okay, they I agree with you that we're moving in that direction. I think we're going to see the Jew hatred is going to be a major deciding factor between who's on what side, right? So instead of, I feel like the world is moving towards a direction where we don't have left versus right. We have Jew haters versus non-Jew haters. That's the division that we're moving in that direction to.
I
Okay. Uh,
actually agree. I think it started with
yeah.
October 7th.
Yes, yes. And I think we're going to have like Nick Fuentes, right leaning people and then leftists and Marxists on one side, and then Islamists, all of them on that side, and everybody else on this other side, right? And I think we're going to see them slowly becoming their own political thing. But the main thing that is it's not going to be perfect. Just like, I don't know, Sunnis and Shias unite over the Jew hatred, right? Sometimes they get reminded that, oh, we actually hate each other as well, and start killing each other as well. Like, it's not going to be a perfect union, but but they manage to sometimes work with each other over the Palestinian cause and Jew hatred. But sometimes it's not like they're going to completely put their differences aside. But yes, I think that some sort of a union like that is I mean, this has happened off again and again and again. It's not like this is happening for the first time, right? We
Well, they
expect
also
this is how
they
Iran fell as a country. Go on.
It's not I also wanted to mention just really, really quickly, it's not just they're unified under Jew hatred, that is one that's obviously the dominant, but they also both believe in a pan-national identity. In the case of Fuentes, sometimes it's Catholic, sometimes it's pan-European. He will coordinate with people like Richard Spencer, who believes in a pan-European identity. He believes all white people are the same, essentially. But yeah, so Richard Spencer and Fuentes kind of unify under this like side of pan identities, and that's the other unifying factor. Whereas I think on the right, we believe in ethnic and national identities, that they exist, like maybe, and religious identities. They exist.
I,
They might be different, but
I'm actually noticing that Nick Fuentes is seeming. This is what I was trying to get to. He seems to be wanting to put white nationalism aside and just focus on Jew hatred. Okay, to me that's what it seems
he
like. 'Cause
he is, but he's still playing ball with people like Richard
I
Spencer, who's
know,
an open white nationalist. I mean, he's still having him on his show.
but he's not going. It seems like he doesn't want to focus on that. Like he's wanting to downplay that. I saw him mentioning that the white nationalist cause has been taken by a whole bunch of retards, as he put it. So he thinks it's a lost cause. But I think why he's putting it aside is a different reason. Let me go back to what I was saying, so you see why I think he's going into this direction, right? So much earlier, like a couple of months ago, he came out and said that we could work with the leftists against Israel and Jewish influence if they give up on mass migration, right? But the thing is that he doesn't understand that that's their main winning card. Like the leftists, the far leftists, they get to change their votes in their direction by demographically engineering the population by having migrants in to come vote in their favor. Like that is their main asset. Why would they give up on their main weapon? So that's how they win. And white nationalists, they don't have a chance against that, because there, when it comes to demographics, white nationalists are like, oh, white women have more babies, white women please have more babies, white women you have to have more babies. Yeah,
with
that's not gonna work.
with white
Yes,
men
but
specifically.
yeah, with white men, yeah, have more baby, get married early and have more kids. Yep, okay, keep saying that. Let's see how much that's going to change the
Well, no,
demographics.
no,
That's
white
not
women are
but
still having babies, but they're just not necessarily having them only exclusively with white men.
but I'm just saying that them trying to create more white babies by advertising for it, that has never worked anywhere. Okay, uh, telling people to have more babies is not going to make them have more babies. It's just not going to work. Okay, but the left has a secret weapon. Like, we don't even need to tell our people to have more babies. We'll just open the door to people who we promise free shit from, from the hard work that other people are doing, and tell, once they get in, we're like, oh, we let you in, vote for us, because this is what we did for you. We're going to give you more free shit if you vote for us. So this is like a winning strategy. You don't need to have more babies. You just allow people in, right? So they're not going to give up on that. And Nick Fuentes, I think, realized that there is no winning this. Okay, like Trump has failed him, in his opinion, when it comes to stopping migration, and maybe this is a losing cause. And he might think, okay, the white replacement, as he calls it, is going to happen, and there's no stopping it. So let's just focus on fighting Jews and Israel. That seems to be popular right now. Like, fighting migration is not going to win us anything. Like, they're winning. It's over. So let's just get united with the Muslims and the leftists and everybody else who is focusing on the greater threat of all, more than migration, which is Israel itself, Zionism, the global Zionism. Let's just focus. That seems to be a winning cause. Let's just focus on that. And I'm kidding you not. Like, it's not just leftists. He's completely willing to now work and unite with Islamists. He says this is one of the reasons why he's defending the Islamic Republic. He's aggressively right now defending the Islamic Republic and all other Islamic countries, because his priority, like ethnicity, race is now like not a big priority for him. Like, he's talking about Arabs as an ally, as a he like his latest show, he was talking about Arabs as a major ally to them against Israel. And he wants to support the Islamic Republic and Arab countries and Islamic countries. So yeah, ethnicity and race, not that big of a deal for him anymore. He wants to, him and many other people. I mean, you could look at Islamic countries, for example. They keep praising Nick Fuentes, they keep praising Tucker Carlson. So the feeling is mutual. Like, the Jew haters are falling in love with each other, and the bond is real. And I think we're moving in that direction.
My other question though is, do you think that they could potentially take over the Democratic Party like Trump changed the Republican Party? It's not the 90s Republican Party.
Mm.
I have to
Yeah, I
insist that we
mean,
move on soon, so just really
yeah,
Okay,
let's
quickly.
sorry.
move on. Yeah, I
Sorry.
don't know, but it is possible, because I mean, like, it has happened before, right? So yeah, it might be under the umbrella of the Democratic Party. I mean, it's more likely for that to happen than it happening under the umbrella of the Republican Party. So yeah, sure, why not?
Okay.
But yeah.
Eh, Next on the list, I have Michael.
I'm here. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Appreciate it. Good morning, Armin, or good afternoon, wherever you're at. I kind of want to rewind a little bit back to when you talked about how Europe is falling into the sphere of China's influence. I also want to add in, for example, like, so I'm gonna like divulge a little bit in this. So I'll make it short. So, like, I'm a gun owner here in the US. And actually, here in the States, for what I know, many European gun manufacturers have signed contracts with many American law enforcement is here in the States. Also, for example, HK, they're developing the HK 416, which is similar to an AR-15. I also want to emphasize a little bit. What I mean is, so Europe, the European Union, has had renegotiated, or at least from what I know, has been renegotiating its trade deal with China. And let's just say it's not in good standing because Europe, well, many European countries have had a trade deficit with China where they imported more Chinese products than China buying more European products. And so I feel like that the Europeans are worried about that. I wouldn't be fooled by the headlines. And I would also add that the American and European relationship should be mutual in a sense that they shouldn't over rely on each other. And I feel like the European Union has paid attention and looking at the Mario Draghi report. I don't know if you ever read it. It's a PDF. I highly recommend it. I'll actually put the link to it here in the chat. And so that report is very interesting. And so the European Union and many other countries within the bloc are creating their payment systems and trying to not use MasterCard or Visa too much. That's all I
So
wanted to add.
what's the main point you're
Uh-huh.
trying to make here?
The
What's the
main point
main
that I'm
point
trying
you're
to make
trying?
is that there's a resurgence in the European Union bloc trying to not over rely on the US or China.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's all I
yeah.
wanted to add.
They're pivot. Yeah. So
Mhm.
they're pivoting a bit towards China as a way to not rely too much on United States, right?
Well, they don't want to over rely too much on China. Like what I'm saying is the Europe is being wary of China.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So when I say they're moving towards China, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they're going to completely rely on them. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, from a European perspective, what they're doing does make sense. They want to diversify, right? But America will do what they have to do when they notice that Europe is diversifying their reliance, not to move away. When I say move towards China, it's not like they're jumping into their arm and basically
Mm.
cutting their ties to United States. They're still going to be more of an American ally than a Chinese ally, of course, but it's more of a spectrum. It's not like binary, right? But also in the same way, like United States relationship with Ukraine and Russia, it's also not binary. It's not like they're going to be like, goodbye Ukraine, we're not going to like we're not going to protect you anymore, and we're now a Russian ally. Like it's not like that. It's more of a spectrum, right? Yeah, so Europe is moving closer to China, less reliance on the United States. United States wants to focus more on its hemisphere, and its priority is China, not Russia. Okay, and these
One
are
last
all
thing I want to
spectrum.
add
It's not. Yeah, go
is
on.
even this is a slap in the face for Russia because the US and Azerbaijan have made like peace talks with Armenia and stuff like that. And so clearly we're seeing a dying Russian empire because Bulgaria has adopted the euro. I don't know if you heard about that recently, and Russia tried to intervene in that election because there was a vote on it and Bulgaria adopted the euro. So that's good
No, I
news.
haven't seen that. So I haven't seen that.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to add.
Yeah. Okay.
I appreciate it,
Okay. Okay.
Armin. Thank you.
All
Okay,
right. Who's
Luigi.
next?
Me. Hi. I think the debate over fentanyl earlier by Samantha and also others in the chat. I hope I maybe I misunderstood, but from my understanding, it was actually like doing a little bit of a mix up of two different worlds. Okay, they said talked about people in the chat again and Samantha about the responsibility of the user or whoever sold it to him. And I think it's a mix up because it isn't a social or moral issue. It's a geopolitical one. So when a country like knowingly allows or facilitates the export of a lethal illegal substance into another country, you cannot see it as a market transaction. It's an attack on the other country's sovereignty and like well-being. So it's different. It's two different realms. It's actually an act of aggression. It's not the same. Responsibility is like it doesn't have. It has nothing to do here. Okay, so that's what I think. Another thing is that Fuentes actually said a couple of days ago. He said, "I am a progressive," and also he said he talked to his fans. He said, like, guys, you cannot be like double standard and talk about Gazans and oh, why are they dead? Why are you killing them when you are making joke about the Holocaust? I know it's the numbers are too much and it's not true, but people died, people were starved, and you make jokes about this. So you have to be consistent. Basically, be evil all the way. So, and also he said that it used to be more fun to be a Nazi. He didn't say Nazi, but he said it was like rebellious, it was fun, we made jokes. Now everybody's like
Yeah.
that. I lost interest. It's no longer fun. I think also that he's planning like maybe to use the left and not long term. Maybe he plans like in his head to turn on them or whatever. But in allyship with Islam, I do see it long term. Just imagine he can keep them weak, they can be good fighters, they can kill whoever they want inside their families. Like why should he care? And they're not like overtaking economies, right? So that's more dangerous. That's it.
All right. Thank you for those updates. That was interesting regarding Nick Fuentes. Okay, who's next? I'm actually going to add
Uh,
those to my list of things to check for. Okay, go on.
Okay, Jeffrey raised his hand earlier, but I think he didn't want to speak and also he's gone. So next I have Marku. Next I have Francesco.
Yeah.
Francisco,
Sorry for the communication before. I think,
no worries.
yeah, so it's not personal ever. So when I talk about, it's not ever about, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing of leaving Europe to China, that's like, that's the history that happened to Iran. Iran was not on the sphere of influence of the United States. You don't want a front to get closer to you. You don't want
Wait,
Europe to
can you
fall
explain?
to
Sorry, I didn't
China
understand the
and
first.
then
I didn't understand the first part. Can you explain again? Sorry.
yeah, you don't want
You,
Europe to fall under
oh,
communism and then Islam. That's not in the
right.
interest of the United States. That will be terrible for the world, like the Islamic Republic is now. Is not the Islamic Republic in the sphere of influence of, and that's why I think I wanted to intervene, because it's dangerous, I think, to let Europe fall in. I know that the United States has probably some other concern to protect first something, but Europe is right now, the United States benefits from Europe, and Europe benefits from the United States. And if Europe doesn't benefit, yeah, if it has to fall under enemy's hand, then the United States would spend way more money to fix that later. The cost of peace, for example, with, let's say, Hitler, would have been a lot of people that suffered more under Nazi Germany. The fact that he would have probably continued and spread wars all around the globe. So, yeah, I don't see how it is not beneficial from the United States, the protection of Europe, which is, yeah, the under the American sphere of influence. When we talk about getting close to China, it's just civil. It's not military. Plus, I mean, the technology, the strong competition to the United States is from Europe currently. It's not from China. Also in terms of technology, Europe has ASML, satellites, autonomous submarines. It has air defense system, fighter jets. It has the lithographic machine that the chip manufacturer use, TSMC. ASML is in the Netherlands. So also in terms of technology, I mean, Europe is just second to the USA.
Okay.
So
Can I
yeah,
respond? Can I
yes,
respond? Okay. All right. So I wasn't. First of all, everything I said, I wasn't being. It wasn't normative. It was descriptive. Like I think maybe I didn't explain it very well. I wasn't suggesting whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. This what I was talking about is was an observation of what's happening. I wasn't endorsing it, and I wasn't like the fact that Europe is getting closer to China is something that is happening again, and it's not happening on a spectrum. Obviously, even if it's happening, Europe is still going to be a closer ally to United States than China. All right, so I'm not suggesting that they're going to basically give up on United States and just jump into the arms of the CCP. I'm talking, for example, if it was like, let's say, for example, just making up numbers. If it was like 95 US, 5% like closeness to China, just making up. We're going to go to like, I don't know, 80-20, something like still, I mean, still America is still going to be the main ally, like, but just shifting more towards China. That's what's happening. Again, I wouldn't, obviously, I don't want Europe to fall. I think Europe is like, still, I mean, even with the welfare state, they still represent Western civilization, and like most of the values that Europe has is still superior to the rest of the world. Even if we criticize a lot of the bad decisions that they're making, still compared, I don't know, compared to Putin, compared to the CCP, compared to the Islamic countries, we still consider them to be much, much more superior to them. But if we want Europe to spend more on its military, is because we think that Europe is worth defending, right? Yeah. So, and also when it comes to, but what we're talking about is not about what makes Europe fall. Like when we're talking about United States not supporting Europe as much when it comes to Russia, okay, Russia is a threat to Eastern Europe. It's not going to be the fall of Europe. Okay, so the problem that you're having an issue with, which is basically destroying Europe from within, which is leftism and Islamism, that is something that United States can't do anything about, right? So we are talking about two different threats. We're talking about a military threat from the eastern borders, from the eastern borders of European countries, like coming from Russia, which is going to, maybe if this happens at some point, we're going to see Ukraine and some other European countries become part of Russia. That's one threat. That's the part that I'm talking about, that maybe United States and understanding is that one way or another this is going to be happening. Not everybody in the US, but some people in the US think that's going to happen one way or another. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I observed some analysts are saying that, right? And but the threat that you're worried about, okay, which is the spread of Islamism and leftist ideology inside Europe, that is something, when it comes to United States supporting its allies from a military perspective, that is something that could only be done because they want you to do it, like European countries want America to do this. But when it comes to protecting Europe, when it comes to the degrading of their culture and their values, like nobody is asking, like the United States can't help Europe with that, because none of them is asking United States to come and fight Islamism. Like this is like they consider this to be their own internal issue. It's none of no one's business. They're doing this to themselves. Like when it comes to the Russia threat, they might want United States to help them because they consider this an external threat. But when it comes to Islamism and Marxist leftist values spreading in their own country, they this is a self-inflicted wound. So how could United States help them when they don't even want to help? Like they're doing this to themselves. This is going to be, so United States is not abandoning Europe. Europe is abandoning Europe. So how could United States defend Europe against a self-inflicted wound? Can you let
Yeah,
me
I can
know?
answer that
Yeah, go
because
on.
that's what happens all the time. Countries try to influence each other, and generally democracies don't mingle in each other's affairs, but dictatorship do. And what happens, all those welfare policies, open borders, this is like a communist playbook one-on-one. And they are doing the same things in the United States. So the Russian threat is not direct, is by the fact that they finance Black Lives Matter, anti-fracking. So they try to destabilize it from within.
Sleeper
And
cells.
yes, I mean, I'm from Italy. The Americans intervened, supported the mafia to reduce the Red Brigade's influence. They did it in the past, and they should do it again. They should just remove the threats from Muslim Brotherhood and communism in democratic countries because they're falling.
Right, but what did I say that you disagree on? Because we seem to agree that.
That they should intervene, even covertly or through influence, to counter
Oh. Okay,
the
so
communist measures.
and one of the best ways to do that is to free Iran, right? To help free Iran, right? Because a lot of the Islam support funding of the Islamism that is basically fucking the entire planet is coming from inside Iran. So turning Iran into an ally of this fight is for one of the ways that you win this battle. When it comes to communism, I mean, it was easier when we do covert operations against, Soviets. When we had the Soviet Unions, your enemy was pretty clear who it is, and you could have like some operations against them. But how do you fight against? So here's what I think. I think this is our job, right? It's really difficult to expect this your state to get involved in ideological battles. Like, how is that? How are they going to do it? Like, do you want the
Yeah, yeah,
American
there are ways
states to come? Hmm.
because
Yeah, I
there
mean,
are silver
I
cells
would be
and
open to that. I
communists.
mean, I don't disagree with that. I'm just need to see like how to do that. Like, nothing that I said, by the way, suggests that that shouldn't be happening. I do endorse ways to fight not just communist states and Nazi states and Islamic states, but also communist ideas and Nazi ideas and Islamic ideas. Like, if there's a way to for states to get involved with that in a way that is effective. I mean, to your point, Francisco, that's how the Cold War was won. So that's a win for the Cold War was not just a military battle, it was also an ideological battle, right? But the reason why the ideological battle between capitalism and communism was won during the Cold War is because people could visibly see the difference. Like, you could see the different sides of the Berlin Wall, and you could be like, yeah, okay, we want that and not that. The the way to make things more complicated for people to be able to decide who's I mean, for example, the Palestinian cause, for example, has been a blessing, the so-called terroristic Palestinian cause for all of these people, right? It's hard to convince people that communism works when you can see my fridge is empty and theirs is not, right? That's how you really easily win that ideological battle. But when they come and say like, oh, let's stop this genocide and stop the Jews for committing genocide, then they could be, by focusing on that, they could basically sell themselves as being on the right side. This is why one of the most important things to end is the Palestinian cause. And again, going back to Iran, and I know as an Iranian, it seems like I'm really motivated to bring everything back to Iran. But again, this is why going back to Iran, because if we free Iran, we're probably also going to be helping to end the Palestinian cause, which is the main way these people sell themselves. All of these people, both the Nick Fuentes types, the Mamdani types, and the Khamenei types, all of them try to convince the world that we're on the right side because the world is committing a genocide in Gaza. So if we take that away from them, we have hit them. We have hit their PR campaign in a way that they can't recover from. But go on, Francisco. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. There is no disagreement there.
Yeah.
The thing is that it's organic. Those have bad points and still are popular because they get funded. So dictatorship push them. So when I think the United States should be more proactive towards Europe, because it's even easier to free than it is the Islamic Republic. The effort, the cost to basically rescue, for example, Britain, it's way lower than the cost to free Iran. And the consequences would be devastating if those countries fall. So that's why I generally push when, yeah, against, oh, United States should stay America first, because
Oh no. Okay,
it's,
America first requires involvement around the world.
so that's why I feel that I had to stop and intervene, because that's dangerous if the United States retrieves from all over the
Mm.
world. And I
Oh no
think the
no.
right is going towards that direction. So that's how it starts. America first becomes American only, and I say, okay, there is no
I
need for
mean, you
me to fight in Iran, because I don't see the direct, immediate, South American interest in this fight or whatever.
see,
I think that's the
listen,
problem now. That's,
listen. I think Putin is a major problem for global stability, and me personally, if America could help, I mean, I want America to fight Russia, but I also want America to encourage Europe to become stronger as well. I welcome any force against Putin. I welcome that. Like I think it's a is best, but I'm also completely in agreement with you that America first it requires American presence all around the world. America is the greatest country on earth because of its presence all around the world. So its presence is that policy is an America first policy, in my opinion, right? However, when it comes to Europe, again, I don't want to go extreme. Like I'm not saying abandon Europe. Obviously, I want Europe to succeed. All I'm suggesting is sometimes, you know how if you're teaching a kid how to ride a bike, you have to remove the what are those things called in English? Helping wheels?
Training wheels.
Those what are they called?
Training.
Training wheels. You have to remove those training wheels. Okay? And removing the training wheels might be like, "Oh, are you stopping are you abandoning this child? Are you removing the aid? You're removing the help?" Actually, no. Like the training wheels being removed is actually in the benefit. Like you're trying to empower them. This is not abandoning them. This is empowering them. You want Europe to spend more on its military, and again, it worked. Like what Trump did. Again, I don't completely 100% agree with everything Trump does, but when Trump signaled to Europe that yeah, you guys need to contribute more, they contributed more. Like they started spending more of their GDP. I still think this is going to be a challenge for Europe because the level of spending that I mean, they still have much more advanced military than Russia. I realize that Russia's economy is only as big as Spain. Like, forget the rest of the Europe. So, but it's embarrassing given how big Europe's economy is to Russia that Europe is not ready. Europe is not ready to defend itself against Russia without America's help. Europe's economy suggests that they should be so much more ready than they are right now, but they're not because they're spending on so much. They're spending on so much welfare, and it's really hard to come off of it. You know, Europe's economy, this also requires convincing Europeans to give up on welfare. Sounds like an impossible thing to do, and I want to hear someone's solution. I know for a fact that when a country gets to a welfare mode, then they don't ever want to get off of it because their entire lifestyle depends on it. So what are we going to do? Like, do these countries need to go bankrupt at some point so to convince people that this is not the way? Like, that's not what I want. So how could you convince people that are so addicted to welfare that this is not the way? Like, I would really like to know what the solution to that is because I don't have an answer. And oh, Samantha saying I'm Israeli first. Yeah, I think everybody here should be Like Iranians should be Iran first, Americans should be America first, Israelis should be Israel first. That's the way we should be. The reason why we cooperate with each other is because we have mutual interests. So being America first doesn't mean that you're against the other countries, because your allies succeeding, if you really love your country, then you should want your allies to succeed, because your allies succeeding is a win for you as a country as well.
Uh,
Okay.
Oscar is next.
Yeah, I wanted to say about the America First thing because I agree with Francisco. This America First then turns into America Only. And then I think you, Francisco, are probably familiar with this coming. I don't know if you're familiar with your own history, but Mussolini is awfully reminiscent of the kind of language that you already hear the Trump administration using. This whole, myth of make America great again, the images that I see sometimes coming out of, for example, some of the people around Trump, like Pete Hegseth, published a book, and I love this example, published a book called American Crusade. And I don't know if you have read the last,
Yeah, but
I
the
put a,
difference, yeah, they didn't take power marching.
well,
Uh,
the difference is that you have a US Constitution that constantly blocks what he is allowed to do, right? I read a document recently. I posted on School and the Post where basically Trump is considering what he calls anti-Christianity to be something that goes against the United States state, right? And if you're an atheist like me and you don't like Christianity, right? Or you may poke at Christians by using satanic symbols just to make fun of them, then you're in a big pickle, right? And I hear this talk about, culture and values and these kinds of and we're this framing of, we're harming somebody's culture or somebody's values is very reminiscent of the nationalistic movements of the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And how do you harm somebody's value? What? By putting on a satanic symbol? By putting on what? An LGBTQ flag? By putting on what? Something that violates maybe traditional Christian norms? So, what was the point that I wanted to make with this? Oh, yeah. So, I see definitely, and I would call it openly, what's happening in the US. At least the Constitution blocks this, and you can read it in my post, a document from the White House, where Trump says basically, if the law didn't block us from doing this, we would kick all these terrorists out, which are the anti-Christians and all the leftists and all these people. And yeah, so the U.S. the administration is to me clearly fascistic. However, the the Constitution and other the system of America blocks these kinds of people from doing what they want.
Based on that argument, then every government is fascistic, because every politician would do whatever they could do to win. It's the structure, like based on that argument, every politician is fascistic. I mean,
No,
everybody should, every like whatever goal that you have, your responsibility is to try to do everything you can to get it. But then we need to provide a framework so that you are limited by that framework, right? So the
yes, and Trump
framework,
doesn't like
it's
that
not the
framework.
people. Yeah, but everybody doesn't like their framework because it's a limiting factor to what you can do, right?
I
So
know. I
the
mean,
framework.
Anakin thought about this in Against the Sith, right? He didn't like that the Jedi had all these rules and all of that, and that's why he revolted. He wanted to take power into his hands
I
and
mean,
go against the.
again, like, but we consider a government fascistic or not based on the motivations of the people who operate within them. We consider a government fascistic or not based on how the entire system works as a whole, right? I mean, if you want to be a successful politician, you should be power hungry. You should be testing the limits. You should be pushing for getting more than what is allowed and the system needs to be designed in a way where it basically stands those tests, right?
So let me give you
So
an
again,
example.
people don't get successful unless they're so ambitious that they test the limits. This is not just in politics, it's also the same thing in business, right? The limits need to be tested